Hey guys, it's Eric.
And it's Caleb.
Our first official video of CEN Eats.
Where we'll be making delicious pumpkin pie and discussing the history and science of it.
So, let's get started.
So right now we've got 1.5 cups of flour in our bowl and we need another cup.
Yeah, you can get started on that. What do we need after that, Caleb?
So, next, if we read the directions, we need to put the salt and sugar in it.
So there's 1 teaspoon of salt.
Yep, so here's the teaspoons right there. And the salt is right here.
So, baking is an interesting process. It involves a variety of steps with a variety of ingredients and egg, flour, and baking powder and soda. I'll be discussing more of this later, but it's quite an interesting process.
Yes, and I'll be discussing how people hundreds of years ago would have made this because, I mean, it was very popular and it has a lot of calories, so you wouldn't need to eat a whole bunch of it.
Yeah, but Caleb forgot the shortening, so we're using butter.
So we need, I believe, 2 tablespoons of sugar.
Oh,
so
wait.
here's our tablespoon. My kitchen's kind of a mess, so.
It might be a little salty.
Well, that's okay. Our pumpkin pie will be really sweet. It does have quite a bit of sugar in it, after all.
And butter, because we had to add extra butter. Add the butter and pulse 4 times. Pulse.
So we're going to be using a fork because I don't have a food processor. So I'm just cutting the butter because we're going to have to smash it with a fork because we don't have a food processor. So this is our first official video of CEN Eats, so these will get a little less rocky, but bear with us, please.
And it's only our second official video.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I hope you'll stay with us because we're gonna
be tasting this later.
Yeah. And yeah, it should be good. And if you listen, we're gonna be talking about the entire recipe, so if you would like to make it, you can.
Okay.
It's very important to cut this butter because without that, you'll just end up just kind of mashing your butter and it will not work. I'm just mashing the butter now. It sounds really weird, but eventually it'll get to the consistency of almost cornmeal, so it'll have little chunks in it.
So we have standard Libby's brand pumpkin pie and Nestle Carnation evaporated milk. And fun fact, Illinois is the #1 producer of pumpkins.
And in case you haven't noticed, that's where we live, in case you're an out-of-state viewer.
Yeah.
Or maybe even out of country.
And watch out for our next video.
Yeah. Yep, it should be coming out in a week or so.
Yeah.
Oh, we can't divulge any secrets about it.
Yeah. Although it will be exciting.
It will be very exciting.
And genocidal.
Yep.
Not in the way you think, but you'll see.
It'll also be really cool, and if you're an aspiring engineer, you should definitely watch it.
It's pretty cool.
It's really cool.
Alrighty, so after this, we add shortening and a tablespoon chop size. Alright, so you're just mixing it with your hand.
I'm just mixing it.
I'm gonna take off my watch.
If you use a food processor, I would definitely suggest using it. I just don't have one, because mine broke 6 months ago, so.
I should have brought my food processor.
So these videos will be a little longer than our regular CEN videos because, of course, they're like a cooking show. So we're gonna stop the video for a little while because this is gonna take me easily another 10 minutes.
Welcome back, guys.
Hi, so now we gotta put water in. So this is what our crust looks like.
It's got a wet sand.
Yeah, that's kind of, it looks like wet sand. It kind of feels like wet sand. So I'm gonna put,
it looks like cornmeal mix.
yeah. So I'm gonna put really cold water, about 8 tablespoons of it, into this mixture. And then after that, we're gonna roll this out. So now we're gonna go, so we wanna mix. So we're using our fork again. And we might need to put more water in. You don't know until you make it. It depends on your humidity in your room that you're cooking it in. So hopefully you're cooking this in your kitchen, but you may not be. So I've got my pie mix, or my pie crust almost mixed up. And then we have to put this in the oven, and we'll be making our pie filling after it gets done, so we can cool it. Eric's gonna roll this out. I'm gonna mix it, and Eric's gonna roll it out. And I'm the master baker here, but he's a master scientist, so.
Sure.
This is actually gonna make 2 pie crusts.
This actually ties into a certain career that you might be interested in. Food science. Food scientists can make a lot of money. You can criticize people for not making a good meal if you want to do that. You can learn all about the science of baking and cooking. You can look at factories and uphold a standard of cooking and improve the factory's output of food.
Yep. Okay, so I think we're ready to go mix. So
Mix? You mean roll?
roll. I'm so dumb.
Let's move you guys over here.
I'm gonna take my little crust baby here. And so I'm gonna lay it on this mat. Like so. There you guys go. So I've got my mat. And then I'm just gonna kind of mash it with my hand, kind of right in the middle. And I'm just gonna kind of tear it in half. And so this will be one pie crust and this will be the other.
Wait, there'll be 2 pie crusts?
Yes, there'll actually be 2 pie crusts. So I'll just put this one in saran wrap and I'll use it at some point. We'll get flour on your hands. We're gonna teach the little student how to roll.
Hey, I'm not the student here, I'm the teacher. You're the co-teacher. We're both co-teachers. Yeah.
Yes, you all are our students.
Yeah.
I hope you take something from this.
Yeah.
So we don't want to get too much flour on it because that will make it tough.
My bad, I'm
So
sorry.
roll it, and you want it to be a circle. And I'm gonna go put this in a bowl and saran wrap it.
So, yeah, you guys are stuck with me here right now. And I'm gonna try to roll this. Can you turn this around a little bit?
You can do it, Eric.
We'll see.
So here's what you're gonna do with the other half of your crust. You're just gonna put saran wrap over it and you put it in a bowl. And you wanna put it in the refrigerator, and you can use it for a pie later. You can use it today. It'll last for a couple of days. So it's pretty cool. So we want it to be very circular. That's really a big part of it.
Oh, okay.
So we're gonna take it and we're gonna flip it like so. Now, can you guys see that? There, can you see that? That's our pie crust. It's going to get even more circular, and then we're gonna like cut parts of it off. Now, I think we've gotta cook our pie crust.
Wait, it's ready?
It is ready, yeah.
That was fast.
Well, it doesn't take very long. You're gonna spray the pie pan and then drape that over, and then you're gonna crimp the sides. And I'll show you how to do that. Or my way of doing it.
The crust
There's several-
seems a little big.
By the time we crimp the sides and it goes in, it'll be fine.
Okay.
But you want to make sure it's sprayed so that way your pie will come out. Your pie crust should be pretty flexible. It might tear a couple times. You'll just kind of have to patch it.
The side.
So the way we patch it is pretty. If you've ever worked with clay, you know how to patch. What you do is you take water and you like brush it on with your finger, and that creates almost a glue. And then you just set your crust on it.
Okay, so this is also interesting. Water is sort of a glue because
It's
it
a
is
cooking glue.
it is polar, and water's chemical formula is H2O, and the oxygen steals an electron from both the hydrogens and becomes negative, and the hydrogens become positively charged. These types of bonds between the oxygen and hydrogen are called covalent bonds, and meaning that they share an electron, but the electron is more on the oxygen side than the hydrogen side. And so any other particles that are polar, they will stick to the water, and this is known as adhesion. And water can stick together, and that's why if you fill a glass all the way to the very top and fill it even a little bit more, it won't spill out because of cohesion, which is water sticking together. You'd think of water being like totally neutral because it's like all life-bringing, but it actually slightly acidic.
Yeah. So now I'm just going to kind of crimp our sides. So there are different ways you can do it. I just kind of crumple them up on the side of your pie plate.
What about this extra stuff?
So this extra is we had a bigger crust. So that means we just didn't split the crust perfectly down the middle. Or it can mean that our pie plate's shaped a little different. Actually, we're gonna actually make our filling now.
Really?
Yes. Some pie crust you bake before, some you don't. This is one you don't. So we're gonna leave this over here and we're gonna bring you guys back over to where we were. But we're gonna take a little break so we can clean up and regroup.
Alrighty. See you in a second. Hey guys, welcome back.
Yep. So now we're gonna make our pumpkin pie filling. So it calls for us to mix the sugar, salt, cinnamon, ginger, and cloves together. So I don't actually have cloves, so I'm using pumpkin pie spice.
Wait, is that a substitute?
It is, yeah, because it'll be fine. So it's 3/4 of a cup of sugar, which isn't that much sugar considering you're making a pie. And there wasn't very much sugar in the crust, so I've got ground cinnamon.
I'm sorry for improving the quality of our video with my amazing dancing.
No, his dancing's so amazing.
What do we do next?
Well, then we're just gonna dump this in, stir it all up, and put it in our pie shell, and then we're gonna cook it. It cooks for about an hour, and then you have to cool it for another 2 hours. So,
kind of interesting. There's a couple ways to heat and cool something, and when you blow on something that's really hot, you cool it down, obviously, but then you don't really think about it. Whenever you're blowing on something, you're actually cooling it by convection. There's convection, and radiation. And radiation is just how it sounds. It's like the sun heats the earth by radiation. Radiation is any particles that are sent from one source to another. And yeah, it's kind of a really basic explanation. Now, radiation as in heat energy, and heat energy is electromagnetic radiation. That's how it arrives here. And so back to the original discussion. So we can actually cool the pie by blowing on it, and
it won't be very effective though.
It's not as effective as conduction or radiation, but you can't really cool something by radiation.
You can only heat it.
Yeah, but with conduction and convection, you can cool and heat something.
I'm just gonna stir this. This is just sugar, salt, and my pumpkin pie spice, and then also my ginger and cinnamon. So I just want to make sure it's nice and mixed up. And so I'm actually gonna go grab a spatula to mix, because those are my favorite things to mix with. Don't ask me why. I do not know. We're gonna put in our eggs.
I just ate raw pumpkin pie mixture.
It will not kill you.
Okay.
Did you get
on my fingers?
Okay, our eggs.
Eggs.
So here's our pumpkin. So actually, I like using a spatula with this particularly because you do need it to get your pumpkin out. My grandma actually does make, she used to make pumpkin. Would you like to put that in and stir?
The evaporated milk?
Yeah. So just gradually don't put it all in. Okay, well you put it all in.
Too late. Does it make a difference?
It won't. It's just easier because it'll like splatter.
It's just regular milk, right?
Yeah, it's been like, I don't remember. Can you talk
evaporated,
about
I guess?
Yeah, I think
I don't really know much about it. It's called evaporated milk, so I assume they just heat it. And
yeah,
whatever you see on a carton of milk, it says pasteurized. That just means boiled.
Right. And then there's also homogenization, which is a little different.
And pasteurization was invented by Louis Pasteur. He's a famous scientist.
And where was he from?
France, I guess. Because, Louis.
We pour the mix in, and then we want to cook at 425 for 15 minutes, and then we want to cool it to 350, I believe. It's for 40 to 50 minutes, and then you want to take it out. So I would put it in for 40 minutes, go check it, and then see if it's done, and then if it's not, we put it in for another 10 or so, and then we're gonna cool it for about 2 hours, and then we'll come back with a taste test for you.
Yeah. Should be pretty interesting. And this video might be a little longer than our other videos.
So feel free to skip through the parts you just don't really care about.
Remember to like the video and subscribe to CEN Network.
Yeah. Oh, this is our mix. I don't know. Can you see it?
Let's not tip it.
Yeah, let's not tip it.
That is it.
There. So it's gonna be like orange, and it'll be about that color when it comes out of the oven, unless you burn it, and then it'll like get darker.
Hey guys, we're back.
And we have this delicious pumpkin pie,
which hopefully cooked well, and I guess we'll have to see in a little bit.
Yep.
So
the only suggestion I would have when making this is that we cooked it for 15 minutes at 425. I would cook it for maybe 12.
Yeah. Or 13.
Somewhere between 10 and 15, but I wouldn't cook it for the full 15.
Also, I tried raw pie dough for the crust, and it's really good. You might want to try it.
I mean, I wouldn't, but it's not gonna hurt you. So, anyway, so I cooked it for 40 minutes at 350. I would only do maybe 35.
Alrighty, so ready to get started? Alrighty, so there's many different mechanisms and reactions that happens when you cook something and bake and any type of cooking. But I'll explain two of the relatively simple reactions that happen. So we don't use baking soda or baking powder in this, but those two substances are known as leavening agents, and they can substitute yeast because yeast expands the way these leavening agents work is that when heated they release carbon dioxide, which forms tiny little bubbles in it, and then eventually there's enough of them that the cake baked good rises, and the bubbles exit the pie and or other baked good, and little holes get filled in, and that raises it. And there's another reaction. Whenever you cook a baked good, all the sugars and amino acids, which are just regular substances, will break apart into smaller parts and gives you all that good flavor that you taste. And I just remembered another reaction. Whenever the baked good or pie is cooling down, all of the proteins in the baked good start to coagulate and settle and become more solid. And that's why whenever you take the pie right out of the oven, it's a little higher, it's a little more bubbly. And then after 30 minutes, it loses its temperature and the proteins coagulate and it goes down, and you get that rich texture that is American pie.
So, speaking of American pie, it was created around 1800, I believe. But there are like instances in France and Britain where there was something kind of similar to pie or pumpkin pie. So you would maybe like dip your slices of pumpkin into like herbs and other spices. Yeah, it's kind of weird. And sometimes you would see like pumpkins, they'd get out the seeds and then they would stuff them with apples. So those are kind of the precursors to pumpkin pie, but it appeared in America at about 1800. So we typically think of like the Pilgrims in 1621 having pumpkin pie. It would have been like one of those variations of it. It wouldn't have been like to modern pumpkin pie. So that's a common misconception.
We're gonna go eat some pumpkin pie. See you next time on CEN.